Welcome to another episode of Becoming a Techno Wizard. Um, another episode, another time. I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. 15 minutes. Time is starting now. Boom. So today I'm going to be talking about UX design. Um, Specifically, I'm going to be showing what I've been learning about UX design, and I'm going to start with this book I have been reading. So we're going to jump right into the middle of this book. It is uh, shoot, I should have got the thing up. Why is it? Okay, it's this desktop. Okay, so I'm reading the book Information Architecture. I talked a little bit about this book um, a while ago in a couple of videos back. I'll probably put it in the show notes or whatever. Um, I don't know what we're going to do here. We're just going to start trying to read it. And if you haven't read up to this point, oh well, please read the book yourself. I highly suggest it. This is just an experiment for me to try to share what I'm learning as I learn. So, anyways, at this point in the book, I'm getting to this part where they're talking about preferred terms. So, this chapter is basically talking about searching and ways to set up your information retrieval system, in which you have basically ways for you to understand, ways for you to put together um, terms. So I don't know. This is a whole lot to capture at this point. So I'm not even going to try to capture all that. But right now we're getting this preferred term. So I'm just going to read it and see how it goes. Maybe this style isn't going to work for the future, but I don't know. It's all an experiment. Anyways, let's go. Preferred terms. Terminology is critical. The following sections examine some aspects of terminology in detail. We have term form. Defining the form of preferred terms is something that seems easy until you try it. All of a sudden, you find yourself plunged into heated arguments over grammatical minutiae. Should we use a noun or a verb? What's the correct spelling? Do we use a singular or plural form? Can an abbreviation be a preferred term? These debates can suck up large amounts of time and energy. Fortunately, the ANSI and NISO, uh, the SOAR standard, goes into great detail in this area. We recommend following these guidelines while allowing for exceptions when there's a clear benefit. Some of the issues covered by the standard are shown in table 10-2. So we're going to go over this table. But just before, and this is exactly why I want to do these types of videos, but I love reading this book because it shows me the depth of things out there and the information architecture out there, where you see here is talking about how um, even when you put together a search bar, right? When you imagine going yourself on a website, when you search a term, it doesn't just know what to do by magic, right? You have to figure out, you have to invent that magic. You have to figure out how what they're searching relates to, what you want to get from your system, from your website, or from your database or whatever. So if somebody's searching, for instance, let's keep it super simple, dog. The question is, what should come up? Well, first you have to determine, what's the content, right? What is your website about? If you're Petco, right? Then when you search dog, maybe something around dog food comes up. Maybe something around dog toys, cage, all that stuff, right? All these different things have to come up. But if you just search dog, then earlier on in this book, it explained how you can either have precision or relevance, right? Or no, precision or recall. So you can have precision where it's just searching for just dog. So anything in your database that says dog, it brings that up. But if you have something that says, canine, right? How does it know to bring that up? You would have to actually put that into your system to say, as an association, to say, okay, when somebody searches dog, bring up stuff with the word canine in it. Bring up stuff with the word, terrier, or Rottweiler, or Cane Corso, like the types of dogs. Right, that's different types of association, different relationships, and that's one of the things here. Like when you say dog, are you coming up with dogs? Are you coming up with doggy? What about puppy? Things like that. These preferred terms really are really important. So, anyways, table 10-2 is getting to grammatical form. You have your topic is grammatical form. Our interpretation and advice. It says the standard strongly encourages the use of nouns for preferred terms. This is a good default guideline because uses are better users are better at understanding and remembering nouns than verbs or adjectives. However, in the real world, you encounter lots of good reasons to use verbs, such as task-oriented words, and adjectives, examples price, size, variety, color, and your controlled vocabularies. Price, size, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. So that means like if you put in dog, you can say, um, dog is a noun, but maybe you have a verb version of, I don't know what, you probably don't have a verb version of dogs per se, but feeding dogs or something like that, right? Taking care of dogs, or training dogs or something like that, right? That might be a different sort of word you want to train for. And adjectives like big dog, cheap, or budget friendly, dog toys. Um, Stuff for, yeah. So all of this makes sense. It's just really interesting. So spelling, I recommend that the standard notes that you can select a defined authority. Oh, the standard notes that you can, select a defined authority, such as a specific dictionary or glossary, or you can choose to use your own house style. You might also consider the most common spelling forms employed by your users. The most important thing here is that you make a decision and stick to it. Consistently will Consistency will improve the lives of your indexers and users. Very interesting there. Yeah. Singular and plural. The standard recommends using singular and plural form. The standard recommends using the plural form of count nouns, e.g., cars, roads, maps. Conceptual nouns, math and biology, should remain in singular form. Search technology has rendered this less important than in the past. Once again, consistency is the goal in this case. Interesting. Abbreviations and acronyms. The guidelines suggest a default to popular use. For the most part, your preferred terms will be the full words, both, but in cases such as radar, IRS, 401k, MI, and TV, it might be better to use the acronym or abbreviation. You can always rely on your variant terms to guide users from one form to the other, such as Internal Revenue Service, CRS. Yeah. Term selection. Of course, selection of a preferred term involves more than the form of the term. You've got to pick the right term in the first place. The ANSI and NISO standard won't help too much here. Consider the following excerpts. Section 3-0, literary warrant, occurrence of terms and documents is the guiding principle for the selection of the preferred term. Section 5222 or 22, preferred terms should be selected to serve the needs of the majority of users. Hmm. So I'm trying to see what this is saying here. I have to kind of recap. So sometimes I read a little slow. Selection of preferred terms involves more than one form of the term. You got to pick the right term in the first place. So yeah, so saying, the standards that's out there won't really tell you which term to use, because a part of it tells you, there's a term for a guiding principle for using the preferred term. Another one that says, just use whatever the most people in your most of your customers are using. So either way, it's just really up to you. You got to do research and see. The tension between literary warrant and user warrant can be resolved only by reviewing your goals and considering how the stories will be integrated with the website. Do you want to use preferred terms to educate your users about the industry vocabulary? Will you be relying on preferred terms as your entry vocabulary? E.g., no variance in the index. You'll need to answer these questions before deciding on the primary source of authority for term selection. This is super interesting. So earlier in this chapter, they talked about how you either are going to have an index or a search kind of database, where an index is kind of like a table of contents, or a sitemap where it's showing everything in your website, and how everything is related. But you don't want to have too much redundancy in your index, or it's going to be too long, right? Again, example of dogs, right? You can have, are you going to break it down by each type of dog? There's like a million types of dogs. I mean, obviously not that much, but there's a lot. Or you're going to just break it down by saying dog, right? And if anything, any other type of dog, you're going to say, go back to C dog, right? So if somebody types in, King Corso, Terrier, or whatever, you can just say C dog, right? It relates to that, the dog kind of category, and everything that you need to know comes from there. Versus the other way around, it may be in like search index where you don't have an index, or in the search kind of database, you don't really have an index. You just have a list of all your stuff there, and you have different search algorithms determining, how people go through your website. It really depends on how you want people to navigate the website. Um, so yeah, super interesting stuff. Term definition. Within the thesaurus itself, we're striving for extreme specificity in our use of language. Remember, we're trying to control vocabulary. Beyond the selection of distinctive preferred terms, there are some tools for managing ambiguity. Parenthetical term qualifiers provide a way to manage homographs. Depending on the context of your thesaurus, you may need to qualify the term cells in some of the following ways. Cells such as biology or electric or prison. Yeah, so a great version right there. You have these synonyms and homophones, and you need to figure out, what what are people looking for. Scope notes provide another way to increase specificity. Goodness. While they can sometimes look very much like definitions, scope notes are a different beast. They're intended to deliberately restrict meaning to one concept, whereas definitions often suggest multiple meanings. Scope notes are very useful in helping indexers to select the right preferred term. They can sometimes be leveraged in searching or results display to assist users as well. Term specificity. The specificity of terms is another difficult issue that all the source designers must face. For example, should knowledge management software be represented as one term, two terms, or three terms? Here's what the standards have to say. Z23.19 says each descriptor should represent a single concept. And ISO 2788 says it is a general rule that compound terms should be factored or split into simple elements. Interesting. Once again, the standards don't make your life easy. So he's like, oh, whatever, right? Nancy Niso leaves you arguing over what constitutes a single concept. ISO leads you toward unit terms, examples of management software, which knowledge management and software. Yeah, each of which could probably be the wrong way to go to get in this example. You need to strike a balance based on your context. Of particular importance is the size of the system. As the volume of content grows, it becomes increasingly necessary to use compound terms to increase precision. Otherwise, users get hundreds or thousands of hits for every search and every preferred term. So yeah, Google likes to make you think that, oh yeah, there's like a million terms. There's a Google all of terms, but everybody knows that most people don't go past the first page, right? It's very rare where anybody goes past the 10th page. If you're just messing around, like who goes to the 100th page? Like you don't really want a million, results. You want a few really relevant results. So it takes a lot of work to figure out what are those relevant results, and how do you make sure you're not, losing important information in those other results that nobody's going to look at. The scope of the content is also important. For example, if we're working on a website for knowledge management magazine, the single term knowledge management software, or perhaps software knowledge management, may be the way to go. However, if we're working on a broad IT site like CNET, it may be better to use knowledge management and software as independent preferred terms. Yeah, because that one's, centered around um, software in general. So it might be just separate stuff for software. Polyhierarchy. In a strict hierarchy, each term appears in one and only one place. This was the original plan for the biological taxonomy. Each species was supposed to fit neatly into one branch of the tree of life. You have kingdom, phylum, subphylum, class, order, family, species. However, things didn't go according to plan. In fact, biologists have been arguing for decades over the correct placement of various species. Some organisms have the audacity to exhibit characteristics of multiple categories. If you're a purist, you can attempt to defend the ideal of strict hierarchy within your website, or if you're pragmatic, you can allow for some level of polyhierarchy, permitting some terms to be cross-listed in multiple categories. This is shown in figure 10-23, so this one here. Let's see how long we got here. I got like a couple seconds, so we're probably going to end it there. Um, Maybe I can go 5 minutes longer. What y'all think? 5 minutes? I have a meeting at 5, so I didn't want to go too much over, and I do want to keep these short. I'll end it there. Like I said, this is an experiment to see, can I do short videos? Can I do videos where I'm just sharing what I'm learning, like reading books, practicing UI, and whatever, watching videos, reacting to it, sharing my thoughts on it, and just seeing where that goes and you know, how that feels. This has, I'm not gonna lie, this has felt a little bit rushed. Um, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So I might in the future, leave it up to 20 minutes, give myself a little bit more time. I do want to keep it concise still, because a commenter I said, I saw said maybe look at having shorter videos, and I do. That is something I have wanted to do for a while, but I just haven't really been doing that because I don't plan my videos at all. I just press play and start talking. So I do want to be more concise. That is a goal of mine. So this is a good practice for that as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you learned a little something here. It's got you a little interested about this. I read this pretty often, probably a little bit every morning. So next time I do this video, we're probably not gonna stay here and not gonna be here where we left off. We're gonna be later on in the book. This is not a book read through. This is just me sharing my learning process. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. And please share your own journey. Please, I would love to hear what you're learning and how you're learning and all that stuff. So, thanks and have a great day. See ya. Bye bye.